Hello and welcome to this week's edition of the RacingBet previewing week 4 of the Brisbane Winter Carnival from Eagle Farm. So it was a pretty stock standard winter card at Flemington in Melbourne. I'm your host Tim Geers, joined by Trent Crebbin. This week I'm coming to you from Sydney, where it's a pretty old miserable day out here in Sydney. The rain's come. And Trent, you're with us from Melbourne during an extended week of lockdown. How's things?
Yeah, look, not too bad. Unfortunately, we were supposed to be out for dinner. I think, was it tonight that we were supposed to have our RacingBet team dinner? That unfortunately won't be going ahead. So yeah, that's unfortunate. But we bat on and we'll move on to Flemington Saturday.
Yeah, I think we're doing dinner virtually, each enjoying a glass of red wine while we record this. As you said, meant to be in Melbourne tonight, enjoying a team dinner, but that got canned pretty quick, and we decided to spend another couple of nights in Sydney. We were meant to go to the beach walks today, but it's been hitting down with rain over here in New South Wales. So that's been put on the back burner as well. But regardless, we're coming to you from a hotel room. Hopefully you can forgive my poor lighting, and I'll make it up by hopefully finding you a couple of winners from Eagle Farm on Saturday, where, as I said, it's another weekend of Group 1 racing. This week, the Group 1 Queensland Oaks for the 3-year-old fillies over 2,300 metres. We'll be taking a look at that because that race is where my best bets of the day come in Brisbane. But Trent, we'll start with you over in Flemington. Give us a brief summary of what the card's like this Saturday.
Yeah, look, it's not too bad. For kind of off-season racing, it's kind of starting to lead up to those Flemington Winter Series finals. So there's a couple of open handicaps for stayers, 3-year-olds for the sprinters, that all look quite deep. There's open fields in most of them, so it's not too bad. And I think there'll be a couple of those horses that we find around that $5-6 range that I think we only need to kind of nabble a couple of to be coming out with profit for the day.
Yeah, well, you endured a tough old day at Wangaratta. I can't imagine you'd be hurrying back in to find a couple at Wangaratta.
No, we copped a bit of mixed luck there. I probably should have, got knocked off by a 50-1 chance in the second bet, and the first bet was about 5 wide the trip, so it was a bit rough. It's a real country track, Wangaratta. Not going to be rushing back to bet there anytime soon. Happy to get back to the open expanses of Flemington, I think.
Yeah, well, that's what can happen when you bet at Wangaratta on a Thursday. So we'll put that behind us, and we'll move on to the weekend's racing. We'll start with you over at Flemington, and your best bet's going to come in race number 3. You're with the horse that's in form, horse number 12, Chief Altoni, currently $2.25 across the board. He ran second to a smart horse in Corner Pocket first up, and then demolished his rivals by 4 lengths last start. Looks another winnable race for him.
Yeah, it does. He kind of almost always showed promise last preparation. He put a couple of wins together, put up some good races. I think he's really come of age this prep. Like you said, his first up run behind Corner Pocket was good. I just don't think he was quite suited at the 1,200 metres, and he was first up there, and Corner Pocket kind of had the runs on the board. I thought he ran on really well. He's put the writing on the wall there, and he really exploded second up on a heavy track at Ballarat. Came from near last, but he put them away really easily. He's only going to improve again here third up. There may be a slight query coming off a heavy track back onto a good track, but I think he's kind of adapt on all surfaces. I don't think it's a big concern. Flemington's really going to suit him. It just looks a really winnable race. Like, there's not a whole lot to this race. You've got B Hunter, I think, as second favourite, who can turn up on his day, but really struggles to win. And then it's just a bunch of horses that are just Saturday grade horses. And I think this horse could probably progress onto kind of group company in the coming preparation. So I think he's going to be really hard to beat here. Chief Altoni, Mark Zara's flying, barrier 7 looks good. Anything over even money probably looks a decent bet.
Well, as I said, you're getting over even money at the moment, $2.25 on offer across the board for Trent's best bet of the day at Flemington Race 3, number 12, Chief Altoni. Move on to something that's well and truly over even money. This is your best value bet of the day. Comes up in the lucky last, race number 9 on the card. You're keen on a 50-1 chance here, horse number 7, Master Chum. Third start back from a spell. It's been well over a year since he won a race. He's had his first 2 starts in Adelaide, ran third first up, and then finished midfield in the RA Lee Stakes at Morphettville last start. Blinkers back on, tongue tie back on as well. Take us through your thoughts there.
Yeah, it's an open race. I could make a case for Master Chum. I thought both runs back this prep have been really good. Like you said, first up he hit the line from a long way back. But Morpheville, 1400 meters, that's just too short for him. But it was behind Groundswell and Morvada, who are quite handy horses. And then last start again, he just got a long way back in the RLE Stakes. Kind of got into a bit of a bumping duel at the top of the straight here, ran on well, finished alongside a horse, Hastler War, who I would, rate very highly in this field, who's racing really well. Comes up here to the 2,000 meters. He has run at the 2,000 meters and won a listed race, funnily enough, over Hastler War as well in Adelaide. Daniel Stackass takes the ride. That's a big positive. Barrier 4 looks nice. Third up, he hasn't won third up, but he's placed twice, I think, from 4 starts. So I think he's kind of always around the mark when he gets to the third up and at 2,000 meters. So I think he's going to run a cheeky race here, in a race where there's, a lot of chances, but you can make a lot of knocks for a lot of horses. So I thought, at around $41, $46, and you're getting, well into double figures for the place, you could make a case for Master Chum to definitely outrun that price.
Yeah, and for context, you mentioned there first up that he ran third to Groundswell. Groundswell is, I've got it in front of me, on the weekend at Eagle Farm in race number 6 is a $3.40 favourite. So you'd think that's a reasonably good form line for a horse running in a winter race at Flemington. So 50-1 available for him. That's race 9, number 7, Master Chum, Trent's best value bet of the day in Melbourne. Move over to Eagle Farm. As I said, we're into the 4th week of the Brisbane Winter Carnival now at Eagle Farm, headlined by the Group 1 Queensland Oaks for the 3-year-old fillies over 2,200 metres. And that's where I'm going to start because I'm pretty keen on the chances of 2 horses here, and I've made these 2 horses my best bets of the day. This is race number 8 on the card at Eagle Farm we're talking about, and I'm keen on the chances of horse number 1, Duace, at $5.50, and horse number 6, Grace and Harmony, at $5.50 as well. So I'll be standing those 2 out in the Queensland Oaks and making them combined my best bets of the day in Brisbane. Duace, we'll start with her, trained by Edward Cummins, ridden by Hugh Bowman. She went into the horses to follow file after her run in the Australian Oaks at Royal Randwick 7 weeks ago now. A little bit of a concern, 7 weeks between runs, but I thought her run there was terrific. Prior to that, she'd won back-to-back races. And as I said, her run for second behind Hungry Heart in the Australian Oaks is very good. She settled last on the fence from barrier 10. She kind of was looking for a run in the straight, didn't get all that clear of a passage in the straight. She still sliced her way through the field nicely, finished hard, beaten 1.3 lengths by Hungry Heart. I think that's really good form for a race like this. And as I said, kind of pinned her as a horse to follow out of that run, thinking that she may end up in South Australia or Queensland. And here she is, as I said, 7 weeks between runs, kind of with a sticky barrier draw, barrier 12 here. But Hugh Bowman booked a ride once again. And I think that form, as I said, is probably one of the stronger form lines in the race. So keen to be with her again at $5.50. The other horse I'm keen to be with is horse number 6, Grace and Harmony. She won 3 from 3 to start her preparation this time at Newcastle, Kensington, and then she took out the Gold Coast bracelet, third up from a spell. I was keen in her last start at Doomben in the Group 2, the Roses, but she drew barrier 12 on that occasion. She went back. J-Mac tried to circle the field, and it was a race that was kind of dominated by those horses up closer to the pace. So as we see a lot of times with Waller runners, when they draw wide, they go back in the field. When they draw low, they end up settling right up on the speed. And that was exactly what happened in the Roses. We saw Only Words, drew barrier 6, settled up on speed, just proved too classy. And I think here, barrier 3, Grace and Harmony, J-Mac can take up a position closer to the speed, probably somewhere in midfield, wherever she lands. And I think, respecting that starting price last start in the Roses, and also her form prior to that in the Gold Coast bracelet, I think that makes her probably the horse to beat here, especially with that good barrier draw. So for giving her for that last start, I think she's the best of the Waller Brigade. J-Mac sticking with probably indicates as much. And as I said, I just really like this setup here. So $5.50 for her, coming out of a race that typically tends to stand up heading into the Queensland Oaks. So I'm going to back both of them, both $5.50, and I think we'll get the result with either one of those saluting in the Queensland Oaks. Trent, take me through your thoughts in the day's Group 1.
Yeah, I found it quite tough. I probably would agree with you there. Grace and Harmony is probably the horse to beat. Yeah, I agree with you about the SP off that last start in the Roses. It just looked like it was a real kind of, don't want to say a barrier trial, but it looked like it was just this is the grand final, obviously, and it just looked like she Waller has her peaking for this run. Barrier 3. We saw, J-Mac won the Derby last week for the same connection. So
on Kukaraka.
Look, I think she's probably the horse to Kukaraka, as he found. Yep.
God bless him.
Yeah, so I wouldn't be surprised if he repeats the dose there. The only other one that I kind of said to you off air that I could make a case for is Splendiferous for Waterhouse and Bolt with Nash going aboard. It was caught wide in the Roses, but it's got 7 to 8 lengths to make up. So yeah, I'd be with Grace and Harmony probably on top as well there.
Yeah, and a couple of other chances. Like you've got Bargain, who comes through the same sort of form references as Duace, but she struggled to beat Duace in a couple of those starts, and I concede she gets a gun barrier draw from barrier 4 here, but she's had good barriers the last couple of starts and still hasn't been good enough. So I'm keen to take her on. And the other one's Media Award, of course, coming off a blowout win in the Australasian Oaks at Morphettville, 5 weeks between runs. Little query on her with the vet check. I think she's undergoing another vet inspection on Friday before the race. So that would be the query there. But it was a big win in the Australasian Oaks. She won her 2 starts prior to that as well. She's drawn well in barrier 5 here for John Allen. But yeah, getting back to Grace and Harmony, it's a bit like the Senor Toba setup from the Derby last weekend. Senor Toba, the start before, drew wide, went back, was given a barrier trial. And then, of course, drew wide again last week, but Bowman was clearly more positive out of the gates, gave him a sensational ride, and he was spot on for the Group 1, only going down by a nose. And so, as you said, Chris Waller bound to have this horse spot on for the grand final today. So that'll be the 2 I'll be backing in the Queensland Oaks, Duace and Grace and Harmony, best bets of the day at Eagle Farm. Move on to my best value bet of the day. Found this a little bit harder to kind of narrow in on, but I've settled on race 5, number 3, Scalapini for Steve O'Day, Matt Hoysted and Bailey Notiff in the saddle. This horse has actually got quite a bit of talent. Just kind of went off the boil last preparation, but if you look at his first up record, I think it's probably a little bit of a setup coming into this race. They probably targeted it. He's had 8 starts first up for 4 wins and 2 minor placings. He's had 6 starts at this track and distance for 2 wins and 4 minor placings. So he's never missed the top 3 from 6 starts at the track and distance. Barrier 3, Bailey Notiff on, trialled nicely leading into this. And like I said, if you ignore his last preparation, his form for this actually reads very well. He has form around the likes of Isorian in a listed race over this track and distance. Nicanova, of course, Nicanova's going huge at the moment, and even the likes of Boomtown Lass. So I think if he brings his best form, and even though he was off the boil last preparation, he was still, finishing behind the likes of Jonker, who we saw come out and run second in the Group 1, I think it was last weekend. So his best form, I think, is well and truly good enough to measure up in a race like this. We're getting $13 at his pet track and distance, first up, which is when he races best. So with the good draw, double figure odds on board, I'm keen on him at the price, and hopefully he gets back to his best form. I think he's a terrific each way chance. That's race 5, number 3, Scalapini. Trent, any other thoughts before we sign off for another week?
No, I think that'll probably do us. Yeah, that's a fascinating first up record. I hadn't seen that before. Yeah, it's a good race, but I could definitely make a case for Scalapini there. That looks a good bet. So thank you for pointing that one out. And I think that'll do us for this week.
Yep, we'll have 4 states covered again on racingbet.com.au. I'll have Eagle Farm, Trent will have Flemington, we'll also have Belmont, and whichever meeting. Where are we in Sydney this week? Probably Rose Hill. So we'll have Rose Hill, Belmont, Eagle Farm, and Flemington covered for you this Saturday on racingbet.com.au. Thanks for tuning in. We'll be back to do it all again next week.